All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here to discuss dual enrollment, and we're very fortunate to have our very own Miss Nobles, our dual enrollment expert, who is come in and to talk with us about this. As a reminder, as you see at the bottom of your screen there, if you have any questions, please make sure you post those in the comments. Please make sure you post those questions in the comments. There we'll be able to see them and answer any questions that you may have. So please make sure you post those questions there. And with that being said, Miss Nobles, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the first dual enrollment meeting of the year. As you can see, it is for the 21-22 school year. Many of you have already began dual enrollment this fall, so this may be a refresher for you. So if something looks familiar, it is because it is the same PowerPoint. Very few things change in regards to dual enrollment and its process, besides the dates. So if you have already been to several of these presentations, then you are already up to speed. So you can wait, or you can participate in this live session, or you can wait until I send out the PowerPoint or it posts to YouTube to get the dates. The dates are the only thing that are going to change for those students who are already participating. So again, welcome, and we will move on to the next slide. Okay, we're going to start with what is dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is a program that provides funding for high school students to receive credit for high school as well as college. So it is an opportunity for you to receive dual credit. So it's very important when you are thinking about going into the dual enrollment program that you are thoughtful about that process, because you are beginning your college transcript as well as adding to your high school transcript. So it is for any students in the 11th or 12th grade. And you can check out the dual enrollment eligibility requirements further by accessing this link that's provided on the PowerPoint. But however, you know, uh, those eligibility requirements have not changed. So, of course, if you're 11th or 12th grader, you don't have to go into, any further eligibility requirements. But just keep in mind that that link is there if you want to go and just read through it. Students will take high school classes and college level coursework for credit, and credits earned can count towards high school and college graduation. Um, and just like I was saying, you are beginning your college transcript. So, um, while students who do not participate in dual enrollment, when they graduate and attend college for the first time after graduation, they're starting with a clean slate. You guys that start early do not have that privilege. So if you're starting early, please keep in mind that it can affect and impact of course, your GPA and financial aid and things of that nature. The dual enrollment program will cover the following expenses: tuition, mandatory fees, textbooks, but some courses may have additional fees outside of that mandatory college fee. So, for instance, if you are registering for a science course such as a biology, they do have lab fees that dual enrollment does not require. Typically, those lab fees are $75, and that would be an expense that the student would incur. It would not be covered by the dual enrollment program. Well, we can go to the next slide. Okay, I want to give you a an idea of what it looks like as a full-time dual enrollment student and a part-time dual enrollment student. If you are a full-time dual enrollment student, that is going to um, equate to at least 4 college level classes, totaling between 12 and 15 hours, according to what courses you take. Most classes are available on campus. However, you do have an option to take online classes. So, if the online classes work better for you, or if you're kind of leery while we're in this pandemic, and they have that online option available for the class that you are thinking about registering for, then you can definitely do that. The student is still officially enrolled as a high school student, and it is eligible to participate in the clubs, activities, sports, and events. So it does not take away from those at you being able to participate in all the things that we have going on here at the high school, but you are classified as a um, regular college level student. So uh, you have access to both. In regards to different things that you can do at the high school and the college. So for part-time dual enrollment students, it is fewer than 12 college credit hours. There is a mandatory enrollment of 4 total courses between Woodville and the dual enrollment institution, and that does mean for Woodville that you have to have at least 4 classes each semester. So it could be a combination of dual enrollment as well as Woodville classes. You may do 2 classes at the college and 2 classes at Woodville, but it must total to 4 classes for the semester. So we will coordinate your high school schedule with your dual enrollment schedule. Um, that will allow for safe traveling between Woodville and your dual enrollment location. So students are not permitted to enter or exit the high school campus multiple times a day. So what that means is when we are coordinating your schedule for dual enrollment, so we will look at having you register for morning classes like first and second block, and then arriving at Woodville for your third and fourth block. So that prevents you from having to go back and forth um, multiple times a day. And so we don't encourage that. And so we try to make sure that we coordinate your schedule to ensure that when you come to our campus, you're here for the remainder of the day. Or if you come in the mornings, and let's say at Woodville in the mornings, and then you leave for the afternoon. So there's only one trip to Woodville. There's not a coming back and forth between college classes and high school classes. So I do want to make a point of emphasizing that when you do those online classes, let's say for instance, if you choose to do online for first block, then we do not expect to see you here at Woodville for first block because you are not on anyone's roster. That means that we do not have a way to track and to make sure that you're safe if we have a storm or any type of event or uh, that we would need to know where you are. You wouldn't be on anybody's roster. So if you choose to do an online option, you do not show up for that whatever block you're scheduled for that online option. So again, I just want to emphasize that, and it's just for safety purposes. We do need a student to be on someone's roster so we know exactly where they are when the parents call to find to check up on them or to if they need to check them out or anything like that. It's just for safety. So I know a lot of students have chosen the online option going forward during COVID time. So just keep that in mind that if you choose that option, you will not be on campus during that particular block. You can go for it, Ms. McGuire. So here are some reasons to participate in dual enrollment. Of course, if you like a challenge, then what could be more challenging than registering and successfully completing those college classes? So, of course, the college rigor of the classes with dual enrollment, you do have more access to those course offerings that you may not see here at the high school. So, of course, the bigger the college, the more course offerings. So, you do have an opportunity to take those classes that you may not necessarily see here at Woodville. You can earn college credits in high school. I think we went over that earlier. And you can earn full high school credit for a 3-hour college course. So that is just one. This, well, you can read through the rest of why participate. But the benefits of participating in dual enrollment is that research shows that students who participate in dual enrollment show an increased likelihood of academic achievement in high school, attendance, college readiness, college access and enrollment, credit accumulation, and college degree attainment. And that just means those students are more prepared when they head off to college. So we have had a lot of success with our dual enrollment program. Our students generally do very well, and they have at least 30 hours most time by the time that they graduate. So they have, of course, put them on a fast track. When they get to college, they are more thoughtful about what courses they take. They have learned organization skills and just how to be better prepared to be successful by the time they actually enroll after graduation. So the research is showing that it is very beneficial for the students when they take advantage of this program. So we can move forward, Ms. McGuire. So disadvantages of dual enrollment, and this is very important, and I want you to make sure that everybody is paying close attention to this particular slide, because we get a lot of questions from parents, and students as well. But a lot of this is for parents, because parents are used to calling up to the school, having access to teachers and things of that nature. So when your student is a dual enrollment student, they are considered a regular college student. So you're not going to have access to these teachers to question, why, a grade has not been put in, or um, why the student didn't attend that day, that those kind of things. So I just want you to be very thoughtful and go through this slide, so you're aware of some of the disadvantages that may come with dual enrollment, because it is going to require you to really be on your student. I always tell parents to get their students' username and password, and don't just rely on the students to tell you how they're doing in their classes. Get that username and password so that you can check periodically, and that's just to not just to um, micromanage them, but that's just to ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing in these classes, because it will have a negative impact if they're not. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the courses are challenging and taught by college professors. So of course, like we were saying before, the rigor of the courses are going to be a little bit harder, um, and then those professors may not know, and typically they don't know if your student is a high school student, so they're not going to treat them any differently. So you may say, well, they need to understand that my child is, in high school, they have these activities, and it's still doing high school classes, but those professors won't know that. And if they do know, they may not even care. So just as when you were in college, a lot of times you can have a lot of things going on, but if you can't meet the deadlines and requirements of the class, then you typically, there are times when those professors will not bend or make exceptions. So that is one thing I wanted to stress. Professors will only communicate with the student. They were not obligated to communicate with their parents. So you may email your child's professor and not get a response. So that's why I say get your child's username and password so that you can stay on top of their grades and monitor how they're doing. And then have them advocate for themselves and send emails to their professors if they're having trouble. Counselors and principals cannot dictate the actions of the institution, and that is one thing we stress, is that we do not have any control over what that institution decides to do. They say, for instance, if there's a attendance situation, and um, the teacher decides to drop the student because of lack of attendance, then that is the institution. We have no say in that. Um, we cannot call over to the institution and say, well, this child has been going through this or that. That is totally on the institution. So just be thoughtful of that moving forward in this process. Okay, because most courses are worth a full credit. Grades are counting double for one semester. Of course, that is great for a good grade, but harmful for a bad grade. And that is because if you fail at the college level, you got an F on your college transcript, and then you have an F at Woodville. And so, of course, that is very detrimental in terms of you being successful overall. So credit transfer is not a guarantee. You must do the research. A lot of times we hear that students are talking amongst themselves and saying these classes won't transfer, or this particular school's classes won't transfer. Uh, if we um, the classes that we have and that we offer, those are transferable classes. However, there may be one class or two that may not transfer. So when you are thinking about going off to your college, please check with that college in particular, and discuss what classes you took at whatever institution you enrolled in, and they can give you the final say so on whether that class will transfer. Now, for the University System of Georgia and the Technical System of Georgia, there is a list that I will post of the classes that are guaranteed to transfer. So when you're registering and you decide to take a class on that list, that is a guaranteed class that would transfer. So I will post that list for you. It is not in this particular presentation. However, I will post it so that you will have access to it. And then competitive college may not consider dual enrollment as rigorous as AP courses. And that has changed a little bit in terms of course, we do encourage our students to participate in the AP program. It is a great program. Um, but a lot of the colleges now readily accept these college classes as rigorous courses. So it's changing somewhat, but of course, if your child decides to do AP courses instead of dual enrollment, either one looks good on your transcript. So we can go to the next slide. So dual enrollment is a serious endeavor, guys. You got to think about your eligibility, of course, but your readiness. Um, or is this something that you're ready for? So some of the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about dual enrollment is, are you motivated? And that is self-motivated, not that your parents have to push you, or your friends or have to push you. You got to be self-motivated, because a lot of times if you have a long day and you have things going on, if you are not self-motivated to do well in these classes, you are not going to be successful. You have to look at your maturity, your organization skills, whether you're able to take initiative. And by that I mean, if you're having an issue in your class, are you willing to go to your professor or willing to seek out help in order to be successful in that class? Of course, you have to be responsible and have good time management skills. So that's just a list of things that you can find on this particular slide, that you need to do a real self-evaluation to determine if you are ready. Because we don't want any students to start this program who do not feel that they're ready. And so we always stress to the parents as well. We know that dual enrollment is a great opportunity, but you have to sit down with your student and just have a real conversation about um, where they are in regards to their readiness. Because, of course, we want them to be successful when they do decide to begin this process. We can go to the next slide, Mr. McGuire. So some negative indicators that you may want to look for when you're looking at, or when you're discussing your readiness with your student or your child. Um, are they disorganized? Are they easily overwhelmed? That's a big one. If they're easily overwhelmed right now with Woodville classes, then you may want to, really think hard about whether, you want them to begin those dual enrollment classes. Are they unassertive? Meaning, are they, do they lack the ability to advocate for themselves and unwilling to ask for help? So the main thing for us is whenever we speak with the students that are having trouble, we hear a lot that they have not reached out, that nobody knew that they were having problems. And so we want to make sure that when the students go into this process, that they have a voice, and they will use their voice to let us know that they're having issues. Now, if you have an over reliance on your parents, if you are needing your parents to remind you about tests and deadlines and things like that, that's another indicator that you may not be ready. And if you're a procrastinator, so it's just a list of things that you can look through to determine if this is the time for you to begin this process. You may want to wait till you're a little bit more mature or have more of these skills under your belt. So just wanted to provide some of those so that you can kind of look through when you're having that conversation with your student. We can go to the next slide. So right here are our expectations. So what we do expect that we expect that you will review the dual enrollment information on our webpage. And that is a counseling webpage, and you can go to Woodville's homepage. You scroll down to the bottom and you will see a link to the counseling webpage. So we do expect that you will do your due diligence and read through the expectations and the dual enrollment information so that you are well informed as you're going into the process. We still have students that are trying to do the quick way and don't read into everything. And so when they run into trouble, they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know that." But you should know it because it is a serious endeavor. And you gotta, anytime you're getting ready to go into something like this, you gotta do your homework. So we do expect with you to meet with your counselor to discuss dual enrollment, eligibility, and readiness. And so for 11th grade, those juniors, that would be Dr. Miller. And for my seniors, of course, you would come see me to discuss your eligibility and your readiness. Um, we will review your high school transcript to determine eligibility. And then what you will be required to do is to complete a funding application. And then there's a link to that funding application if you need help with how to complete it, or if you have any questions. That's a wonderful resource if you get onto that, onto Georgia Futures and you just don't know what to do. So click on that link and it will show you exactly how to fill out that funding application on Georgia Futures. If you have not, and I spoke on this yesterday with my seniors, everybody should have a Georgia Futures account at this point. Everybody, everybody should be able to go into Georgia Futures and should be monitoring your Hope GPA, and that is gafutures.org. If you do not have a Georgia Futures account, please go ahead and create one today. Uh, it's a great, not only do you complete your funding application through Georgia Futures, but it's a great resource to have when you're looking at colleges, um, um, looking for scholarships, college planning, financial planning. It's just a wonderful resource. And so take some time to get familiar with Georgia Futures because it's going to be very beneficial to you. So after you have completed your funding application on Georgia Futures, um, you are going to let your counselor know that it is complete, and you should have met with your counselor at that point to talk about classes. Now, I do want to make sure that you're aware that House Bill 444 established a 30-hour credit limit for dual enrollment students. So that means if your student is going to be starting as a junior, I wouldn't advise them to take 12 hours first semester, 12 hours second semester, because if they're wanting to participate in dual enrollment as a senior, they're going to run out of hours. And if you want them to continue to take classes, then you're going to end up footing the bill for that. So a lot of times when the students are juniors, um, we tell them maybe take 1 to 2 classes each semester so that they will have enough dual enrollment classes if they want to continue taking participating in dual enrollment in their senior year. So you just got to keep in mind that you are at a 30-hour cap, and beyond that, you will be responsible for the bill. So typically, each course at the college level is going to be 3 credit hours. So that's equating to about 10 classes that dual enrollment will pay for. And of course, that's not, that doesn't include like a science that has a lab, which is normally 4 hours. So just keep in mind that's going to equate to about 10 classes. And so you want to, especially if you're starting as a junior, you want to kind of space that out so that you have enough hours if you are planning on participating in dual enrollment during your senior year. So for Point University classes, those classes are held on Woodville's campus. So those students have the luxury of coming here and not having to worry about how are they going to get to class, leaving to get to class, or um, if they're gonna be late or anything like that. So those classes are here. It's really a benefit for our students who want to participate in dual enrollment but may not necessarily be driving or have transportation in their junior year. It does give them an opportunity to go ahead and start those dual enrollment classes. And of course, those students, many of them decide to continue on with Point during their senior year because they've had a great experience there. So that Point University option is there for students, especially those that don't have transportation or whose parents are not able to get them to those dual enrollment classes off campus. So you must have transportation for Georgia Southern, Savannah Tech, and Savannah State. And again, uh, if you are scheduled for a class during any block of the day, at one of these institutions, you are not expected to be on our campus. And so that means that you have to have reliable transportation. So just keep in mind if you're trying to coordinate and take classes that your friends are taking, anything can happen at any given time, guys. So just make sure that you are prepared um, and have reliable transportation if you are planning on attending one of these institutions off campus. We can go ahead, Mr. McGuire. So accuracy is key and prevents delays. And that means when you are applying for these colleges, make sure that you have your correct social, birthday, address, emails. Emails, guys. You gotta use an email that you are checking regularly because you're gonna be getting regular information, schedules, orientation information to this particular email. So you want to ensure that it is something that you are going to be accessing on a daily basis. Make sure that your parent information is correct when they're going in to complete their portion of the dual enrollment funding application. So make sure that you are um, putting all of that information incorrect because, of course, if something is incorrect, it can create a delay. And any delays when you're looking at dual enrollment impacts when you get registered for your classes. Of course, we want to get registered as early as possible. That ensures that you get into the class that you want to take that semester. And then if you have any passwords for those platforms that the particular schools use, like Blackboard, I think is what is it? Savannah Tech uses. You want to make sure that you're keeping track of your passwords because the school won't know your password. We won't know it. You would be the only one unless you give it to your parents that have it and can access those platforms that typically have your grades, your assignments, that that type of information. So we can go to the next slide, Ms. McGuire. So general registration information. We went over meet with your counselor. That is number one. Create your Georgia Futures account. Watch the dual enrollment process video, and this is just going through the steps again. Research and select your institution of choice. Now we didn't talk about this one earlier, but know what institution you want to register for. You want to visit that college's webpage to determine the eligibility for that particular school, and then you want to apply to your institution of choice and complete the entire application process and find out what is the required entrance testing um, exam or scores necessary to be accepted to that institution. And again, we stress complete the online dual enrollment funding application via Georgia Futures. We cannot, you would not be registered. It's not even we cannot. You would not be registered unless we have this funding application, because this is where we enter the courses that we have discussed that you're going to take for that particular semester. And so if you don't have a funding application, we don't have anywhere to put the courses. And so that is why it's critical to not only get that application completed, but to get that funding application complete, because it's going to pay for your classes and make sure that you get registered in a timely manner. So Jennifer, these are registration steps, um, additional registration steps. So once accepted into your institution of choice, you can go and view the dual enrollment approved course list for the particular institution. So you can click on the link, and it will also take you to that course list, so that when you're deciding about what courses you want to take in that semester, you have the full course list in front of you. And so at the same time, of course, you're consulting with your counselor to make sure that you're remaining on track for graduation. Many of the colleges have a dual enrollment specialist that you will work with. For Georgia Southern, it's going to be Miss Rachel Gibbs. Savannah State is Mrs. Prater. Savannah Tech is Miss Walter, and then um, Point University is Miss Jenna Prince. So the students are not just kind of pushed out there. They do have not only the high school counselors, but a dual enrollment specialist at that particular institution that will help guide them through the registration process and ensure that they get registered for their courses. So what we do ask that you not do, and it will help to make sure that there's no scheduling conflicts. Do not schedule dual enrollment courses during mandatory high school class time. So if you know that there's courses that you have to take, or academic courses that you will be taking here at Woodville, then please don't go and say if you got a first and second block of pre-calculus and a chemistry or forensics. Don't go and schedule first and second block. I'll just say first and second block. Don't go and schedule a dual enrollment class for 8 o'clock, because you're scheduled here to be here at Woodville. So just be thoughtful of stuff like that when you are scheduling, because it will create a conflict, and then may require you to change what courses you want to take at the college level. So you're going to complete the dual enrollment student participation agreement. And then once you have registered for courses, you'll immediately provide a copy of your dual enrollment schedule to myself or Mrs. Brooks. And that way we would get your dual enrollment courses added to Power School. Once your dual enrollment schedule is received, we would then adjust, of course, your schedule. So if we don't have your schedule, you may want to go ahead and send us your schedule. The colleges typically wait until some of them do a spreadsheet and send us multiple students at one time. So if you already have your schedule, please just go ahead and send it to us, and that way we're not waiting on those spreadsheets. And so the earlier we can get them, the earlier we can get them added to your Power School schedule. But if we don't get a schedule, then those classes that are currently in Power School will remain there until we have verification that you are registered. All right, Ms. McGuire. So here we go. The information I was talking about with some of the other students that began dual enrollment already. So for Georgia Southern, those students, well, for spring registration is going to begin November 1st. However, if you are planning on attending Georgia Southern or are currently attending Georgia Southern, um, you should, the students who are currently attending, Ms. Gibbs is probably reaching out to y'all now to schedule those appointments in regards to what courses you're going to take for the spring. However, if you have not applied yet, please go ahead and apply. And then Ms. Gibbs will get with those new students as well to talk about courses that they are interested in taking in the spring. So again, the GPA requirement is a 3.0 for Georgia Southern, and the registration begins on November 1st. However, we will go ahead, once you meet with Ms. Gibbs, you're going to go ahead and give me that information so we can go ahead and get your funding application complete prior to November 1st. So when November 1st comes, you will already have your courses and your funding application complete, and we'll just be waiting to get your schedules. So for Point University, you had to be in point classes this semester in order to take point classes next semester, unless you are thinking about attending point off campus. Our kids that are in the Point University classes now are part of a cohort, and so they take some intro level classes this semester, and then they go on to the second level classes in the spring. So unless you're planning on participating in um, uh, unless you're planning on doing point off campus, um, then you would need to do anything for Point University. So for Savannah Tech, registration is already open. I talked to Ms. Walters. She said registration for spring is already open. It opened as of September 13th. So if you are currently enrolled or thinking about enrolling in Savannah Tech, you need to be on the ball. That means you need to be meeting with your counselors to discuss what courses you want to take for the spring. Because, like I said, the earlier you get those courses to us, the earlier we can add them to your funding application and you can get registered for the courses. Of course, the later you wait, there's a possibility that you won't be able to get into the classes at that time because they will be closed. Um, so just make sure that you are setting, and adhering to the deadlines, putting the information in your calendar so that you can go ahead and meet with your counselor and get that process started for the spring. Savannah State as well. Um, you can go ahead and start meeting with counselors in regards to Savannah State. They are already looking at registration. Now, for Savannah State, you have to have your courses submitted to me by October 15th. There are no exceptions. So, if Savannah State is definitely one that you want to attend, uh, you definitely need to go ahead and come on up, meet with your counselor, and get that information to me because October 15th is quickly approaching, and I will have to have all of your courses into Georgia Futures by that date. So those are the dates of registration. I have not set a deadline yet. I'm thinking about maybe November 1st, but I'll push that information out um, to you when that happens. But right now, I have not set a deadline for you to come and begin that registration. I mean, a deadline for you to have everything in. Just make sure that you are, adhering to um, any deadlines that I have provided on here, and specifically, it's going to be the Savannah State one. Make sure that you have looked over the GPA requirements for each college to see if you're eligible. If you have a question about if you're eligible, you can come up and we can help, or we can provide you with that information so we can move forward. So, the Point University and the registration process. I'm going to let you read through this. Uh, because we are in the at the end of first semester, or we're into first semester right now. So like I said, unless you are thinking about doing point offline, off campus, then this really won't apply. However, the part about the participation agreement, the parent agreement, and the funding application, of course, still applies no matter what school you're going to be attending. Application, funding application, participation agreement, all of that stuff has to be completed. So just keep in mind, um, if you want to participate in point and want to participate on our campus, these are the steps that you would need to follow in terms of making sure that you're ready to begin those courses in the fall of that school year. Because, like I said, those students are on a cohort. Those classes are typically either first and second block, and so those students remain in those blocks, in those point classes, first semester and second semester. That means when those students start in the fall, say for instance, our juniors take two classes in the fall, first or second block. Those same students will have two classes in the spring, first or second block. And so with that cohort, like I said, they do some intro level classes first semester, and then they go to the second level class second semester. For those seniors, um, new seniors take four classes with points. So let me do stress that when we have students who are beginning point, and this is mainly for the juniors now. Um, when we have students that are beginning point as a new senior, meaning they've never attended point before, those students take four classes each semester. So, for instance, if um, your student has four classes that semester, and all it takes is to have four classes to have a full schedule for Woodville, then that means that those 4 point classes will fulfill that requirement. So after second block for your for those seniors, then they will be able to leave for the rest of the day. Some do opt to stay for the remainder of the day, but then that gives them a third and fourth block, and then that gives them 6 classes. So just keep that in mind for those students who are thinking about participating as a senior with Point next year. If you would be a new senior and you do not have any experience or any um, have never attended Point, then you would have 4 college classes um, in each semester. So I just want to keep, for you to have that in mind going forward, because I don't want you to be like, oh, I didn't know we were going to have 4, because it can um, give you an opportunity to leave early. However, if you can't leave early, then you will be required to have a third and fourth block, and that's going to give you 6 classes for that semester. So if you have any questions about point can be a little bit confusing to some people. So if you want to meet and ask specific questions or anything, we can meet in regards to point. So that is pretty much the process for point. You can read through it, and then if you have any questions, just let me know. So we can move forward, Ms. McGuire. So this is just information about the registration process that we have gone over. Some things, Georgia Southern, Savannah State, and Savannah Tech, um, you have to apply to the college online, of course, and meet the GPA test score requirements. You will find the link on our counseling page that I told you about. Going that, if you want to find it, you're going to go to Woodville's homepage, scroll to the bottom, and then you will find the link to our page. Uh, I did find out from Savannah State and Georgia Southern that they are requiring an SAT, an ACT, or an Accuplacer score for the spring. So if you do not have your SAT or ACT score, you can register to take that um, before spring, and then if you don't have time to do that, you can take the Accuplacer, and you can find out more about AccuPlacer test dates and location on that particular college's website. So if you do not have time to register for the SAT or the ACT score test, then look at taking the AccuPlacer as an entrance exam for Georgia Southern and Savannah State. Savannah Tech, as long as you have a 2.6 GPA or higher, Hope GPA or higher, you do not have to test or anything like that. So um, you don't have to worry about that if you are looking at participating at Savannah Tech. So of course, we would go over the number three is just saying that when you register for classes, we will review with you to make sure that you remain on track for graduation. Of course, complete number four, complete the funding application on Georgia Futures. Um, if you do not have an account, create one. For number five, again, your college advisor, those ladies that I called out, will be reaching out to your students to assist them with that registration process. So they're just not, out there on their own. They do have assistance from the high school as well as the college when registering to make the process smoother. And then, of course, once the your student registers for classes, then you will provide a copy of the dual enrollment schedule so that we can get it updated in Power School. So we can go to the next slide, Ms. McGuire. And so we have some frequently asked questions here. So some of the colleges, oh, well, I already went over that first one. The course is transferred to most other colleges. And of course, you must do your research. So again, I will post that a form with the Technical College System of Georgia and the University System of Georgia that shows you the classes that are guaranteed to transfer. So I will post that on our counseling web page as well as on It's Learning. So you will have that to refer to and print out if you want to print it out as a resource when you're registering. Sometimes students pass the class with a D or receive an F for that class. Um, Most colleges require students to pass their courses with at least a C or better. So, for instance, if we have kids that take a class that like an English 1101 and receive a D, um, then that course will not count. So just keep that in mind that most colleges do require the student to at least make a C or higher in order for the course to count. Dual enrollment classes count as an academic pathway. That means, say for instance, if your student does not have a CTAE pathway, um, but finish four or more dual enrollment classes, then that will count as an academic pathway. For a typical college schedule, some students may not have to take classes on Fridays. So just keep in mind that when you're doing enrollment, those are not typical schedules. That's not typically a Monday through Friday. So your kids may have classes Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And so if you're just, like I said, I would just keep track of when those classes are so you know exactly where your student is when they leave from us to attend those dual enrollment courses. So it is not a traditional Monday through Friday, though. So it is just best when you go in or you actually view the schedule yourself to see, when your student is expected to be in those dual enrollment classes. So if your student doesn't have transportation, then of course they can take the class online. And I'm get and to stress the point again, um, they do not need or will not need to be on our campus when they take an online class. They will take that class from home or some other location. And we can move forward, Ms. McGuire. So this is just some information about high school versus college. And this is just information for the parents, and you can read through it just to find out more about um, what is expected as a college student in terms of, let's say, as a college student, you are no longer able to attend field trips with your classmates because you will miss class. So some students may um, have a class trip that's going on, but if they are in a dual enrollment class, then of course they are responsible for attending that class, because with dual enrollment there are only a certain number of classes that the students can miss before they are dropped. And so students may miss out on opportunities like that in terms of college visits and things like that that may be going on here at the high school. So it's just some differences that may impact those students whenever they choose to do dual enrollment. But however, some professors will, with prior notice, allow those students to participate in those events. So it is just something to keep in mind when your student is looking at participating in dual enrollment. Of course, the students are expected to read their syllabus. Definitely be aware of the attendance policy for their professor and the institution. And then you have an example that Point University will drop a student after 6 absences, and that is the university's policy. So, of course, we don't have anything to do or have any influence on their attendance policy. It is just very critical that students read their syllabus to be aware of all of those all of that institutional information, so that they don't accidentally, catch themselves in a bad position. Dual enrollment is free. And again, there are very few fees. The only fee that I can think of right now is probably for the lab. And again, those teachers will, or the school will notify the student if there's any additional fee for a class. So we can go to the next slide, Ms. McGuire. So what happens if your students fail a dual enrollment course? Your Hope GPA would be negatively impacted. And as most students are preparing to um, remain in Georgia to go to school, this is going to be a critical aspect in terms of what is your Hope GPA and staying Hope eligible. So whenever you're looking at the student participating in dual enrollment, keep that in mind, because your student may have a 3.1 or a 3.0. If they have a bad semester at the college, then that is going to drop them out of hope eligibility. So that is why it's critical to have that maturity and have that readiness before students decide to go into this process. So for college algebra or high level math courses, um, these are more difficult courses, and we have found that math can be a little bit more challenging on the college level. So when your student comes or your child comes and say, "I'm thinking about doing a math," uh, unless they are very strong in math, I do encourage them to wait to do the math. Um, and if they do decide to do it, please make sure that they are utilizing those tutoring services. They do have use of all those services over at the college because they are a college student, so they can go over and to those student centers and request tutoring and things of that nature. So, with those higher level math classes, just keep that in mind. It can be quite challenging and can be something that they may the student may decide to wait to do when they actually get to college after graduation. So when a student withdraws from a course beyond the drop add date, and that's typically the first 2 or 3 days of class, typically that drop add date is with no penalty. It won't show at all when we receive their transcript. he or she will they want to this is the time that they want to drop during the drop add period. That's a no penalty phase. However, if they wait beyond the drop add period and receive a W um, after that on their college transcript for withdrawing from a class, for us for the high school that is going to be a 65. We do not have anything that is the equivalent of a W, so that is a 65. No matter that they withdrew at the college and it was a withdrawal passing or whatever, that's on the college end. We do not have anything that's the equivalent on the high school end. So that is a 65 for us. So when students ask us after the drop add period, we are going to tell them to stay in the class, work with the professor, ask for assistance, go to tutoring, um, use all the resources they have. That they can find to successfully complete that course, because if they withdraw, then they're going to have a failing grade for the course. So we do want to stress that and make sure that everybody is aware that when you withdraw from a course, if that's what you still decide to do after speaking with your counselors, then you will have a 65 for that course, because we cannot add a W on the high school transcript. So um, go over that with your child, um, and then as a student, make sure that you are reaching out. If you when you participate in dual enrollment, that you're reaching out to your professors to prevent from getting in a place where you think you're gonna have to withdraw from the class, or you've gotten so far behind, or what for whatever reason. So just make sure that this is something that stays in your brain. Because I had a student that came up not too long ago and say that they got behind and they wanted to drop, and of course it was too late. So just keep that in mind going forward. Do not drop a course without discussing it with your counselor. Of course, not only could it put you off track for graduation, um, but it is going to impact your GPA in a negative way. So please do not do that, because um, it is going to be detrimental to you. So, of course, it's going to affect your funding as well. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, any drop classes could impact whether you are on academic suspension, because students have to have satisfactory academic progress in their courses. And so if they're dropping too many courses, of course, you may not be able to participate in dual enrollment anymore, as well as um, prior to that, you may end up being put on academic suspension or probation. So we can go to the next slide, Ms. McGuire. So students with disabilities, please make sure that you are in touch with that institution, and to make them aware or to disclose your disability and provide them with any documentation. So you are going to make sure that you are, I think it is student affairs over there. You may go to them. I can't think of the name of it right now. But you do want to make sure that you are provide them with the documentation so that they can assist you in getting any accommodations in place that you may need to be successful in your classes. Of course, that does require you to be an advocate for yourself. So we do not send that information. It does have to come from the student. So that is our students who have an IEP or a 504. So we can move ahead, Mr. McGuire. And we can go to the next slide. And so this is just a list of questions to ask yourself. I'm not going to go through them because we're about an hour into this now. Just go down this checklist and make sure that you're asking yourself these questions. This is going to ensure um, when you're getting ready to move forward with the process that you have really thought it out and make sure that you are thinking about, are you ready? So go through, check off to make sure that that you have thought about all these things. And I'm not going to read through them. You can read through them yourself because we have gone through them. But these are serious questions to ask yourself. We can go to the next slide, Mr. McGuire. So next steps. Again, and we keep hammering this because oftentimes we still have students or parents that may ask, so what is the next step after you do this? And again, we have outlined everything that you need to do. I know we have gone over it in the previous slides, but step one, um, you want to just read through. The dual enrollment provides funding for the college level classes, for the approved college level classes. And then it's just going to take you through all the steps that we went through in the previous slides about signing up for your Georgia Futures account, um, applying to the college. And so if you want to just print this out as a guide, you can do that because it has all the steps that we have talked about in the previous slides to make sure that your student is ready to complete this process. So we can go to the next slide, Ms. McGuire. So here you're gonna see Mr. McGuire's information, as well as myself, Dr. Miller, Ms. Brooks, and just a list of everybody that's in our counseling department that can be of assistance to you. So if you have any questions and you're not able to reach me or um, Dr. Miller, because Dr. Miller can still answer questions, we work together. But dual enrollment is my baby this year. So if you're not able to reach me and or Dr. Miller, there are some other yeah, email addresses of Mr. McGuire and some other people that you can reach out to if you have questions. And then if they don't know the answer, they'll get it back to me. So thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please let us know by typing them in the chat, and we'll try to answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Miss Nobles. And let me end this. All right, and I know we have a few questions that are here in the chat, Miss Nobles. So I kind of go through them. Some of them are somewhat similar, but we'll
Okay.
post them just so we make sure we go through them. The first one comes from Ivan. She says, "Are ninth and 10th graders able to participate in dual enrollment?"
So the ninth and 10th graders are not able to participate in dual enrollment. They will start in their junior and senior year.
All right. So then this question kind of comes right along with that. I also had this question is Georgia Southern says you have to be at least 16 years of age to participate.
Says Georgia Southern said only have to be at least 16 years of age. That is not a dual. So it's not, that may be their um I can't think of the word, Mr. McGuire. What is it? Stipulation or whatever. But for us, what we received is that students will be able to participate as juniors and seniors. So I don't know if your child is 16 and in the 10th grade. I'm not certain. You can send me an email specifically and let me know what may be your child's specific situation, and then I'll try to find out for you. But it is for juniors and seniors.
Okay. All right. So then that follows back up with this question: what grade will they be able to sign up for dual enrollment? Again,
11th and
you, you can sign, you can begin that process in the 10th grade, but you won't be able to start your classes until your 11th and 12th grade year.
Yes.
Um, so just another reminder here from Josh. So only juniors and seniors can do dual enrollment, and that is correct. Going here, Julie asked another question: do some college classes count for our high school credit hours?
Yes. So that is where the dual enrollment component comes in. So if, say, for instance, as a junior, you may be taking U.S. history, where you can take the U.S. history on a college level and get the high school credit and the college credit. And so that's the way the dual component comes in, because you're getting credit for both high school and college. So yes, you will be able to do that.
All right. Next question comes in and says, I'm already in dual enrollment for Georgia Southern, but can you sign up for dual enrollment twice?
So yes, if you are already participating in the fall, you are ahead of the game. Like I was saying earlier, only thing you would need to do is meet with Miss Gibbs, and she should have sent out some information in regards to setting up a meeting with you in regards to spring. And then of course you would meet with your counselor to make sure that you are still you remain on track for graduation. So if you're a junior, you're going to meet with Dr. Miller to talk about what courses you want to take in the spring. And then if you're a senior, of course, you'll meet with me. And then we will look at do you have everything that you need, and what courses, like we were speaking about with the previous with question, what courses that that you may be able to take at the college level that may count for high school. So um, you can sign up for the spring if you are already attending fall.
All right. Next question comes in. It says, my son is currently in dual enrollment with Point University. Do we have to reapply for spring 2022?
No, ma'am. Point students remain a point student all year. They are part of a cohort. So, for instance, like I gave that example earlier, um, point students are in English and I think a history this semester, like an English 101 and 102. So then they go into the next set of courses that have been pre-approved for them, which I think is English 102 and the second level history course. Don't quote me on that. I got to have it in front of me. But yes, he will remain in those classes in the spring. He does not have to reapply.
All right.
The point makes it a little bit easier because their schedule is set for the whole year.
All right. And then our last question, and this one's going to land one of our students in trouble, Miss Knowles.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right. But Julia asked, Mr. McGuire, were you asleep in class? And the answer to that question is no. I was not asleep. What happened was that we were doing our deep cleaning, and I wanted to go over and protect Miss Nobles before the chemicals got into her office. So I wanted to catch her. So that's why I was away
Yeah.
from the desk. So I was trying to look out for Miss Nobles so she wouldn't be hacking and coughing those fumes from my deep cleaning. But no, Julia, I was not asleep in class. All right. That was our. I think that was our. Oh, we had one more question that came
Okay.
in for Julia, and it says, "How soon do I need to meet with my counselor to apply for the fall semester of my junior year?"
So, Julia, you will meet with your counselor in the spring. So, what happens for spring registration? They'll give us a deadline to register those students for the fall. That's typically in April. So we will meet with students to register them for the fall around April or May, prior to y'all leaving for the end of the year, so that you would know prior to you leaving what classes you're registered for the upcoming um, school year. So you will meet with your counselor, Dr. Miller, around April. Uh, I would say April, just to make sure that you're ahead, early in the game, and have already, get bogged down, because it's going to get busy and he may have multiple appointments. So go ahead and set your appointment with him early in May. I mean, in April.
All right. And those are all the questions that we had. So we want to just say thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. It's really been fun. And special thank you to Miss Nobles, again, who serves as our dual enrollment guru, who handles all things dual enrollment for us. So thank you, Miss Nobles, for stopping by. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or anything that we can do to assist you, please make sure that you reach out, get in contact with us. We'll also have this broadcast will remain on our YouTube page, so that if you have any additional questions or you come in contact with somebody that may have had questions themselves, you can direct them right here to this page, and they can collect and get all of that information as well. That's all that we had. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for a
you.
great evening, and I hope that you guys have a great day.